Our next guests have a special take on the theme of belonging. Lucia Rios and Stacey Trowbridge work at Disability Network Lakeshore in Holland, Michigan. They join us today to talk about inclusion of, advocacy for, and misconceptions about people with disability. Stacey, Lucia, welcome to Feel Like You Belong.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
You bet. So, Stacey, why don't you go first and tell us a little bit about what you do at Disability Network Lakeshore.
So my role is Director of Community Development, and essentially what that means is I look for opportunities to network and build relationships in the community, whether it be businesses or other nonprofits, public entities, just to create awareness and education about the importance of disability inclusion. Essentially that people with disabilities are like anyone else and they want to be included in everything, recreation, community activities, employment. I also do some administrative and management-based work as well.
Okay, super.
And I'm community access, so what that entails is I work a lot with public facilities, small to large businesses regarding accessibility. So really looking at access as far as how can people with disabilities get in. Once you get in, can you utilize the space as well? And so working with the businesses just to help them remove barriers so that way they can be barrier free, so that way people with disabilities can connect in the community and in the business. I also do a lot with disability sensitivity training too. So I do a lot of talking to employers about including people with disabilities, what that looks like, how to interact with someone who may use a wheelchair, use crutches, is blind or visually impaired, that type of thing. So
Sure. And one of the important conversations that, and the reason we brought both of you in to talk about this is oftentimes there are folks with disabilities, if they're in a wheelchair, we can all see that, but sometimes we don't. Can you each take a moment to talk about people's discomfort in the disability conversation and how you sort of work with them to make that more comfortable? So for visible and then maybe invisible disabilities.
well, physical disabilities, I think sometimes people with physical disabilities, it's a little bit more to understand because you see the wheelchair, you see the crutches, you see the cane, and you think, okay, they may need assistance, or, if you have a wheelchair, well, you cannot use stairs, so we need an entrance with no steps. And so I think that some of that, you can fix some of the physical barriers as far as building a ramp or having a space that has an accessible bathroom or accessible parking or signage, braille signage, that type of thing. So I think that sometimes it's easier for people to understand, but then there are also a lot of attitudes and assumptions too with people with disabilities, with physical disabilities, that they can't do something, or it's gonna be, they can't do it the same way as everyone else. But I always say that just because you have a physical disability doesn't mean that you can't do it, but it might just be an alternative way. So
It takes some accommodation.
Yep, accommodation. But I think that for me, when I go in public, it's it's out there, it's open. People don't question if I have to park in an accessible parking spot. People don't question if I have to ask for assistance. And so I think with that's a little bit easier, I think, for people to see it, you believe it, that type of thing. Whereas I think some individuals, sometimes who have some of the hidden disabilities, it's a little bit more of a struggle because you can't see it, it's hard to believe it.
Sure. Stacey, you want to pick up on that?
With hidden disabilities, there's this negative perception of, that really, I guess, focuses, it's an attitude issue. So because I can't see the problem, then the problem must not exist. Someone maybe, I think there's an idea that, the individual maybe is looking for attention. It's just, I think it's part of human nature for us not to believe what we can't see. Although we know things like heart conditions, diabetes, fibromyalgia, many things, illnesses exist, and we believe that they do, but when we talk to someone who says that they have a particular hidden disability, it's much harder to believe that they need the supports that they do. Lucia mentioned accessible parking. Well, a lot of people have knee replacements, hip replacements, And there may be a little bit of difference that's noticeable in their walk, but not enough where the public thinks that, oh, yeah, they need that handicap parking sticker. They might have a heart condition, so you can't see,
Sure.
you know, a difference in the way they move or walk, but they can't physically walk more than maybe 25 feet.
And it might be someone, for example, with MS who, on their good days,
Yes.
they are ambulatory, but walking long distances will tire them out, and so they really need that close access as well.
Absolutely.
But to the average unenlightened shopper at the grocery store, hey, what are you taking that parking space
Right,
for?
right. And I think too, in terms of accommodations, especially on the job, there's a huge fear among people with disabilities, especially hidden, of disclosing to their employer and then making the request for the accommodations. Part of it is not knowing what the law says, what their rights are, and their responsibilities, because we all have responsibilities as well. But I think the other part of it is that some discrimination still occurs in every aspect of society, and it can't always be proved. I will say that I think most employers are doing the right thing. They're following the law. They are. There's been a movement towards looking at people with disabilities as this viable talent pool because there's such a shortage in terms of skilled workers. So now it's kind of become this new trend to begin an inclusive employment program and hire people with disabilities and be more, encourage your prospective candidates or prospective employees to disclose right up front.
Sure.
I mean, there's a lot of things employers can do to ease that for employees with disabilities or potential employees with disabilities. They can, you know, in the way they advertise or market the positions, offering that their, you know, large font is available, or you can complete an application online using a screen reader, or if you need a specific accommodation, please make a request, that kind of thing. So you could just be more open about it. Another way too, I think, is for businesses to, if you have someone in leadership that has a personal experience with a disability, if they admit and they disclose to their employees, because most businesses have many people with hidden disabilities working for them, they just might not know it.
Sure. And to reach back to something that Lucia was saying earlier, when we see it, we trust it.
Yes.
And therefore it sort of validates like that's okay, but we're still, I mean, we've made progress from centuries before, but we still, for example, stigmatize certain forms of either mental illness, people who have panic attacks, depression,
Yep.
and we're just still a little uncomfortable around that,
Yeah.
both in self-disclosing, but then also, oh, you know, am I okay to work with this coworker who has some of these
Well, I think a
issues?
couple things contribute to that. One is that although the brain's an organ, it's not considered an organ like the rest, even though it controls all the other organs. So if the brain is sick, you know, to use simple terms, whether it's depression, anxiety, PTSD, it's harder for us as a society to accept that that's really no different than if we had a heart condition or we're in liver failure. I think that the other problem is that media, especially Hollywood, sensationalizes and dramatizes mental illness.
Sure.
So all of what general society typically sees are what's in the movies, or you know, someone's a psychopath or a sociopath, or someone came home from the war, has severe PTSD, and now shoots up. And then, you know, if you add in all of the school shootings and things like that, yeah, I do believe that a lot of there has to be some type of mental illness for you to make a decision to do that, but that doesn't mean that that person represents the majority.
Also reemphasizes the need to have, you know, complete health care,
Absolutely.
which includes mental health. I want to go back to Lucia and talk a little bit about your personal history in growing up in Holland, Michigan.
Yep.
A smallish town,
Yeah.
intimate, you get to know people, and you grew up as a cherished child in your family and your community.
You know, I was born with spina bifida, so using a walker, crutches, wheelchairs, all I've ever known. So, you know, I know that that's a kind of a different perspective than maybe someone who acquires a spinal cord injury. So But I was raised kind of. I had two older sisters, younger brother, and my mom and stepdad just really raised me to just like the others. As far as I wasn't necessarily told I couldn't do things because of having not being able to walk like everyone else, but I was really told like, okay, well, here's the problem. What are you gonna do? How can you get around it? So, like I would, my mom was very supportive. So if I wanted to roller skate, she didn't say, "Oh, you can't do that." She went out and bought me crutches or what roller skates, and I would roller skate on my with my crutches too. So those types of things. So I never saw it as like I can't do something. I always thought, what's a way that I can do it, and so at least try. And so
So it made
but-
you fairly optimistic, maybe even tenacious.
yeah, yeah, and I didn't necessarily see myself as having a disability until I went to college because I was mainstreamed all through school, and everything was really provided for me. So I didn't have to really think like, oh, how am I going to carry my books from class to class? My books were in my classes. So I was getting accommodations at school. I didn't realize there were accommodations, or I got to leave class early so people wouldn't run me down the hall.
It's
run
people
over
knew
me.
you at school. People knew you in your
Yep.
small
Yep,
hometown.
Yep. So I had, I still have a friend who I was in kindergarten with, and now, we're both 38. And so, that's how, we grew up together. All of, the people that I went to school with. So I went from kindergarten or preschool all the way to high school. And so a lot of the people we grew up together. So there wasn't any question about, the disability because I think a lot of that was brought up earlier. And as kids, you see maybe a difference, but you don't really care. I could just say, well, I use crutches. Okay. So
Sure.
I think that was a lot easier.
And that changed when you went off to college.
Yeah, when I went to college, I really had a reality check. So that's where actually I understood what it was like to have a physical disability and have to rely on myself, but also using a wheelchair and crutches and navigating an inaccessible campus, an older campus. I went to Western Michigan University. It was very hilly. Stacey also went to Western, but we went to
Go
different
Broncos.
times.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think that it was then that I really realized what physical barriers were, and also attitudinal barriers as well. People, I'd grown up in a small town, and so when I went to a different place, I experienced people not always.
Not caring because
Caring,
you're no
yeah.
longer the beloved child
Yeah,
of,
yeah.
of our small community.
Yeah, and so, or not understanding. And so my first class that I had, it was on the second floor. It was an algebra class, and I couldn't get to the class because the elevator was broken. So that was like my first experience. And so the whole class had to get changed to a lower level so that way I would be able to get to the class.
Now
So,
this was in the day, so ADA had been passed for a number of years.
yep, so the ADA was passed, the Americans with Disabilities Act was passed in 1990, and I went to college in 1998. So it had been 8 years.
But not every building in America got retrofitted
No.
immediately.
No, and the same is still today. There's still places that, are not necessarily accessible, But also, I think people don't understand about, I can go out and say, oh, the ADA, but sometimes people think it's like the American Dental Association or something like that. And I think people don't understand that there is a law, regarding employment, regarding physical structures, telecommunications, all that stuff that's out there. And so it's actually, it seems like it was fairly new then, but I think it was an older campus, older buildings, and so they kind of patched things. So it's like, yeah, you can get in through the side door, not like necessarily the first door, the front door. So now things have changed. Things are changing, and so
Things are getting better. But
things are getting better.
the reason both you have jobs is because the education continues.
Yep.
There's still more individuals
Exactly.
and organizations that need
Yep.
educating and bringing about
Exactly.
awareness and so this is really important work. Our time is flying by and we're going to need to wrap up soon, but Stacey, maybe you first and then Lucia, what are some tips for people who maybe are either unexposed to or a little uncomfortable around disability that you could offer them?
Yeah, so I think that people fear what they don't understand or what they haven't been exposed to, and I think it's a normal reaction. But in general, people with disabilities want to be treated just like anyone does. They want to be given the same opportunities. As Lucia mentioned a little bit earlier, that she might do things a little bit differently, and just understanding and being open to the fact that it doesn't mean they can't do the same thing as you, they just might approach it in a different way. But ultimately, they want to be seen as any other human being does.
Sure. And in fact, they've got skills and passions
Absolutely.
to share with their community as much as any of us.
Absolutely.
And I think people with disabilities just want to feel like they belong as well. And I think that, when I do my sensitivity trainings, I always say, okay, treat the person as you would treat others. How do you want to be treated? With dignity, respect, but also you want to be seen as a human being. We're first and foremost human beings. We have desires like everyone else. We have goals. We accomplish things. We want to be part of society. And so I think that's something where, with the work that we do, it's all about inclusion. It's all about belonging. It's all about how to get people active in the community and how to get, people with disabilities working, people with disabilities connecting with others. And so I think just treat others as you would want to be treated and ask questions. But also, ask appropriate questions. But I think most people are willing to talk about it. But I think that, asking, don't assume.
On that theme, and we were talking just a while back in some private conversations, and oftentimes small children are really curious. So do you get kids coming up to you in the grocery store and just?
I do. I get adults too, but I get kids.
And so
But
what's your response to kids? Because truly with them, there's total innocence.
Yeah, it is very innocent, and I think that I always encourage, now I wave at the kid. If they're looking at me, I wave at them, say hi or something. But often I see that it's the parents that really try to shush the kid and push him away.
Don't stare.
Yep, or her legs are broken, and that's not true.
Right.
And it's like, no. And so people usually open it. Kids are innocent. They ask questions, and usually it could just be, why are you in that? And you say, well, it helps me to move around, and I can't, I don't walk as well as you. Okay. So usually a simple answer just helps. And so I think that just the parents to be open to letting their kid explore and ask the questions. Otherwise, they're going to be adults that we're training later on in life that are not sure how to interact with someone. So, and also that's that fear. If you shush someone away, then there's this fear like, oh, we can't talk about it, we can't ask about it. So.
Sure. So, Lucia, you have a blog and you talk about these sorts of concerns. What is that so people could read?
Yes. Oh, it's www.luciarios.com.
We'll put that on the screen. And for people who want to get in touch with the network on the Lakeshore?
Yep, they can go to our website at danlakeshore.org. We're located in Holland, and we serve Ottawa and Allegan counties.
We'll share that with our viewers as well. It's been a lovely but all too fast conversation. So we'll need to do this again sometime soon.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thanks for coming by.
Thank
you.
you for having us.
Thank you for joining us. If you're watching on TV, stay tuned for our following segments on information and humor. If you're watching us on the internet, I hope you will check out our other conversations with the amazing community members working to make these United States a more inclusive place for all.